Hello, listeners. We have some exciting news kicking off 2025. Precipice Fiction, all of us, all six of us, are partnering with Westwords to bring a brand new year-long speculative fiction writing program. And it will be kicking off end of February, which means you have between now, as you listen to this, and the start of February to apply. And that's right. All six of us here at Precipice Fiction will be your writing tutors for an entire year. And being an online course, that means it is open to anyone, everywhere. As long as you can make your time zone work with the class time, you are welcome to join. It is best suited for people who already have a first draft of an existing speculative fiction manuscript, meaning it can be fantasy, sci-fi, horror, and all the wonderful subgenres in between. Applications are open now. The program is called Westwords Speculative Writing. You can look up westwords.com.au and look up Westwords Speculative Writing, or just Googling Westwords Speculative Writing, you will find the page that has all the information on the course. Can't wait to read your applications. See you all soon. Hello, listeners. We have some exciting news kicking off 2025. Precipice Fiction, all of us, all six of us, are partnering with Westwords to bring a brand new year-long speculative fiction writing program. And it will be kicking off end of February, which means you have between now, as you listen to this, and the start of February to apply. And that's right. All six of us here at Precipice Fiction will be your writing tutors for an entire year. And being an online course, that means it is open to anyone, everywhere. As long as you can make your time zone work with the class time, you are welcome to join. It is best suited for people who already have a first draft of an existing speculative fiction manuscript, meaning it can be fantasy, sci-fi, horror, and all the wonderful subgenres in between. Applications are open now. The program is called Westwords Speculative Writing. You can look up westwords.com.au and look up Westwords Speculative Writing, or just Googling Westwords Speculative Writing, you will find the page that has all the information on the course. Can't wait to read your applications. See you all soon.
Welcome to Prose Cons, a podcast by writers for writers, brought to you by Precipice Fiction. Precipice Fiction would like to acknowledge the people of the Eeyore and Durrag nations as the original custodians and storytellers of the land that this podcast was created on.
Welcome to Pros and Cons, a podcast for writers by writers, because sometimes we feel like pros and sometimes we feel like cons. Welcome to today's episode, which I have loosely named What is in a Name? The Secret Art of Naming Characters. Now, normally I throw it around to everyone else to introduce themselves, but I'm actually going to take the initiative and introduce everyone else. And
What?
Yes, I'm playing with
twist.
The format. So Ali, myself, short for Alexandria, is a feminine given name derived from Alexander the Great. Alexander means man's defender and warrior.
Look at you. Wow.
Which ultimately derives from a Greek Macedonian name of Alexandros. The name literally breaks down to Alexin, to ward off, and andros, meaning man, to defend man. The name has remained popular for nearly 2,000 years. And Alex isn't joining us, but there's no need to introduce his name because if you look at the etymology, we literally have the exact same fucking name. So we're the same person. No need to introduce Alex. You may need to interrupt me, Matan, but otherwise I'm going to say Matan is a Hebrew name coming from the word gift and literally means giving. It is a part of the title of the Jewish holiday of Shavuot that is also known as Zaman Matan Torah, meaning the time of the giving of the Torah.
Oh, you are a gift, Matan.
It's like you've read my diary. How do you know?
Another fun
spot
fact,
on.
The name can be traced back to older versions, such as Matanyahu and Matityahu, which
Sounds like a fun guy.
Which is the root origin of the English name Matthew.
Well, I'll just say Matanyahu was actually the last king of the kingdom of Judea, who came to a pretty grisly ending, having lost to the Babylonians, and they kind of killed his kids in front of him and gouged out his eyes. So the last thing he saw is his kids dying.
Oh my God!
I'd rather lean on the gift part than the Matanyahu part, just because
rather than miserable end to a king.
I love history so much.
Paddy is also joining us.
Hi.
Paddy is understood to be the diminutive of a few different names,
Yes.
including Porrick.
Ooh, you got it right.
Meanings include noble and regal,
Mhm.
with origins in Ireland,
Mhm.
with an etymology that can be traced back to the Latin word patricius, meaning patrician, literally translating to members of the ruling class. With the Latin roots, we have the Roman Catholics to thank for bringing this name to Ireland, with
Thank
the
you.
patron saint, Saint Patrick.
Thanks, Roman Catholics.
Thanks for the name.
Thanks for the name.
Wow, Paddy, you're like 20% cooler after I've heard that.
Thank you. Now you know I am as cool as I've always felt.
He's a member of the ruling class. Like, that's what he's named for.
Yeah.
And then we have James joining us. And James, our Irish precipice, does not have an Irish name. It is a very ancient name.
Love the look on your surprise. Look of surprise on your face, James.
Jameson is expressing what do you mean? How dare you?
James is Seamus.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. The name itself has done a tour almost around every European and Middle Eastern country. It is equally claimed as a French name, an Italian name with Giacomo as a derivative, or also accepted that it has roots in the Hebrew name Jacob or Yaakov.
You're welcome.
That in of itself has Latin roots into the word Jacobus or Jacobus, depending if how soft or hard you're hitting that J, Jacobus. These syllables break down to he will, shall heal. It's a phrase to be read as grabs the heel, with a meaning that translates to a man in control of his own actions and will.
Wow.
So
You're the
that's our
protagonist,
James.
This is great, Ellie. I like this.
I'm just impressed.
I also did one for Phoenix. Oh yeah, I'm an expert. I spent 2 hours researching. I'm now an expert in this. So Phoenix was a fun one because it's held its root meaning for a really long time. So where the others have evolved over time, especially James, Phoenix remains pretty still. It hasn't evolved. The mythical bird worshipped in Egypt, Old English, Old French, medieval Latin, and Greek all settled on this one word, and they don't really argue with how it's pronounced. The French spelling phoenix first appears in the year 900, and that first meaning was used for of which rises from the ashes of which was destroyed. So Phoenix has always remained Phoenix. So before I kick off, the usual question, what have you been reading, writing, watching, consuming this week?
Okay, so I have decided that I have time. For the first time in a while, I have time, and I'm not just reading things for university, and I'm not just reading things for clients. I actually have time. So you guys are going to be so disappointed. I've started reading Hyperion.
Yes.
And starting like for the first time.
And I liked it, but I just like don't get upset.
No.
Felt
where are you up to?
I don't know. I got to like page 40, I think 50.
Whose tale is that?
Whose story are you in?
They're telling the story. I think I'm in the second story. I read about the priest. He's the first one. And
I liked it even with the first story.
So you know how in the Lord of the Rings, Bilbo Baggins, he looks at the ring and it's like he hears voices. So this has been happening to me with the last book of Wolf Hall. I've been hearing whispers, which I stopped halfway because of stuff, and so I'm restarting The Mirror and the Light from scratch, just so I can be in the right vibes when I get to the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying me and Hyperion are never going to happen. I'm saying that at this point in my life, it's not the right book for me.
You gotta push through. Okay, because I haven't finished it either. I'm right in the middle. It's my current read. So the first story I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's quirky. I'm gonna keep going. I remember the second one. I'm like, Third one, I'm like, okay, no, I'm sold. I'm in forever. This is great.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the fourth one's even great as well. I've just finished the fourth one. So yeah, I've just finished the baby one, Rachel.
I love that so much. I found it so
moving.
There's
a story for the baby? What?
There's a story for the baby.
Yeah, there is.
You feel like you don't. Like, I remember my first impression is there's so many characters. I'm not going to care about them all. And then after each story, you're like, I fucking I'm invested in all of them.
I'm like, can I see the Shrike? Can I get to the Shrike? Can I see it? All right.
Yep. No, you got to give
yeah,
it your
okay.
patience. I understand, but
Yeah.
you'll be rewarded
Listeners,
for
I promise that one day I'll finish it, but
Mhm.
I'll get there. I don't want to disappoint the collective. Okay.
you don't want to fail reading club.
Yeah, I don't want to be the only one who hasn't read Hyperion. That would suck. I already have the weirdest name, so.
It's a gift. Paddy, what have you been reading, watching?
I am about to
playing?
start The Wizards and the Warriors by Hugh Cook. I'm going to hold it up for anyone that can see the video. Hugh Cook, I've never heard of this author, but a friend of mine says it is their
Hey!
favorite fantasy book by far.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
On the cover is just trope, stock 80s airbrushed fantasy kind of stuff, which we love.
Sure is.
I don't know anything about it. I've refused to actually read the blurb or anything, so I'm going to go
Wow.
in completely blind, and I will let you know. Hugh Cook, The Wizards and the Warriors.
What a great dive.
Yeah,
Keep us
we'll
posted.
see. We'll see.
And one of my current watches, I've got a couple of watches on the go, but I haven't finished them yet, so I won't talk about them. But I've just recently finished Trigun Stampede. For those who are fans of Trigun, it's an anime. The original Trigun is like 2 decades old. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe not quite that long. But it's an older anime, and I watched that one first. And I actually thought it is one of those animes that really stuck with me. Like at the time, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But then, like weeks later, I'm like, I'm still thinking about these characters. I'm still thinking about the morals, the philosophy of it. And I'm like, I'm
Nice.
actually like in hindsight, that was so well done. And when we get to our character death episode, podcast that we'll do, Trigun's going to be a great example for that. But so I'm watching Stampede, which is as animes sometimes do. They come back to them a couple of like a decade later, and they redo it with fancy art style. So Trigun Stampede is a beautiful, gorgeous animation. The characters are all there, but they're slightly different. Like they've made a lot of really interesting adaptation choices. So the first season has a lot of big reveals. There's a lot of big secrets. Like the plot goes along, and you just step on a couple of landmines where you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Stampede, as a remake, assumes you know all those secrets. So the plot's not even bothering hiding anything. So from the first episode, it's like, here, all the cards are on the table, and now we're going to play out a slightly different story plot-wise, because it doesn't need to hang its structure on big reveals. So, like, from a writing perspective, that's so fascinating. In hindsight, I think they're going to do another season of Trigun Stampede, so it's not done, but it's I don't know if I like it as much because it's losing some of its philosophy of the first one, but regardless, watch it. It's beautiful. I do recommend everyone go and watch the original Trigun. It's short. It's a single season. Then compare it to Trigun Stampede. It's also fun because they're two different genres as well. It's the same story, but I would argue the first story is a Western and Stampede is a sci-fi. And that's really cool how it's changed genre, but it's still technically the same story. Anyway, if you love adaptation as much as I do, check out Trigun. All right. Let's get into our topic for the day and discuss more names, fun names. Before we dove into this, Matan was literally saying, how have we not done this topic yet? It's such a big deal in speculative fiction, naming characters. So I wanted to pose to the group. I wanted to discuss what we mean and define for ourselves what, say, a good character name is. Like an average character name, but then what is a good character name? How should that make us feel as readers? And what should a good character name convey?
Do you guys know the term nominative determinism? Nominative determinism.
Please unpack it for us.
It's the idea that someone's name can sometimes influence like what they do. Like, let's say someone's name is Smith. Back in the day, they might have been more likely to be a Smith. I know, like, sometimes people are named for their profession, and like, I don't know, if your name is like Moneybags McScumbag, you might be more likely to be like a billionaire industrialist, Musk type. So that's a fun idea that's out there. Anyway, I think we love to hear names that kind of do reflect a character. Like later on, I've got a few of Charles Dickens's, like very good names. We just hear a name, we're like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Like this person's going to be just like this. I think
Yeah.
that's a good name, but also I'm not sure that characters always need names that sound like what they
Ooh,
are. Mm.
interesting.
Mm.
What are your
Um,
thoughts on a
uh,
good versus average character named Matan?
I gotta say, I think that there are two important factors, and I usually like names that are brave. Okay,
Mm.
like names that I haven't heard.
What's a
For
brave
example,
name? Yeah.
In the Name of the Wind, Quoth,
Mm.
is a brave name.
It's a
And
tricky
I
name.
like
Sure
names.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like names that are like if I read it, this is not dig at my fellow Precipite, but if I was reading a fantasy and the main character is James, I would be like, oh, okay, you weren't really trying hard, were you? But the other thing I like, beside bravery and courage with your names, is I like some sort of, like we talked about it in magic systems, that if you follow the rules of the magic system, it's really satisfying, and I feel like I'm part of it.
Mm.
The same thing can be told about names. If you follow the rules of the naming conventions that you kind of slowly teach me as a reader,
Yeah.
and the names make sense together, maybe if they share consonants, like if one of your characters is called Michael and another of your characters is called I don't want to be racist here, but like a Ching, okay, like
It's not
how are
racist.
Michael and Chin in the same? Like something doesn't sound right, because it feels like, are they in the same location? Is this a metropolitan area? I don't know, but especially in fantasy, when you're crafting kingdoms from scratch, like it would make sense that people from that kingdom would have slightly different names than people from that kingdom. So I like consistency and courage. And the beautiful part about consistency is that you get to make the rules as the author. I just want to see you uphold them. So that would be a good name for me. A name that feels like it belongs with the other names, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's like a world building promise. A part of I love naming because you can pack so much into it. You pack history, you pack linguistics, and as we go through, I'll talk a little bit about root words. And I'm just using this term as an alley term. I don't think it's a real term, but if I
alley
throw
term.
around the word root word, what I mean is if you trace back its etymology, what has it derived from? That little exercise I did at the start with all our
Nice.
names, like how you can trace it forward. So you kind of want all your names, like as you're saying, Matan, to have, you want, if they all trace the root back, what is it? All Latin? Is it Greek? Is it Hebrew? Like, where is the origin? Like, at the end of the day, if you're not Tolkien and you're not out to invent your own language, but you still want to and say we are writing in English, I'm just going to default to English, but depending on which kind of linguistic route you want to choose, the consistency of it, I think, goes a really long way to reader satisfaction, even if they can't entirely pinpoint why, but they will be able to sense that, oh, these all have Latin roots. Oh, these all have Hebrew roots. Like it'll just start to feel more cohesive, as
it makes sense.
You've put that thought into your world building. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love what you were saying, Paddy, about determinism. Like, does someone grow into their name because they were given that name?
Like,
or is it just
if your name is Morgoth, if your name is Morgoth, you're not the good guy, all right?
Yeah. It's the
and
name
we
informs
inherently
the
know
villain.
that, and as authors we can play that for either playing it straight or playing with expectations. There's power there. It's
Yes.
like, oh, is Morgoth going to come in and save the day? I didn't see that coming.
But not to derail too quickly, like in the context of fantasy, I think that makes total sense. We probably do want to have similar root words and have words sound similar. But what about in something like literary fiction? Because like in the real world, we don't just encounter Susan, David, Luke, John. We encounter people with all sorts of names, which are very varied. And if I'm reading something like literary fiction and everyone has this like 1950s white picket fence, like Anglo-Saxon name, that also tells us something, but I think it tells us something more about maybe,
choice.
Yeah, that tells
Yeah,
something maybe about the
bad
author.
Way.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think there's also a lot of room for some like unusual derivation names in certain genres, you know?
Oh yeah,
you just made
absolutely.
me think of this, but I've done script editing on a few Canadian scripts.
Ooh.
And I remember the names really giving me the shits. As in, like, say it was originally written by a Canadian writer and then an Australian writer was co-writing it, and that's how I ended up involved as an editor. And like all the names just seems like really tacky American. I'm like, why do I feel like I'm watching a teenage, like they're all gonna go on a camping trip? There's Ambers, there's Kate's, the
Yeah.
guy's named Jacob and Chris, and I'm just like, why are they? As you said, Patty, I bumped up against it because it was too same-ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like they took it from babynames.org, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of what
exactly.
it feels
Yes.
like.
We're gonna circle back to that. Put a pin in baby names. I wanted to ask both of you to put on the table, what are some of your favorite character names in fiction?
Okay.
Well, can I? Okay,
you
go ahead,
you
Patty.
go.
You go first.
No.
Loaded
I go.
question.
Okay, look, I could just sit here and read an Excel sheet with Tolkien names that I like.
Yeah.
But I wanna say what specifically I like about some Tolkien names. Like not just say, "Ooh, Tolkien is great at naming." Let's really look into it. Tolkien does a thing that the names actually have a system that you don't really have to understand the system to like it, and you don't even have to think about it. Maybe it's subconscious. But if you look, for example, at the names of dwarves, Gloin, Philly,
Gloin.
I actually have the list in front of me, but it's a lot of short names, not a lot of vowels. It makes sense. Balin, Bifor, Bufor, Bombor, Durin. Like the maximum you're gonna get is two vowels, a lot of unlikely consonants at the beginning, a lot of B's and D's and G's and F's, things that you don't hear as much. No A's almost, no E's almost no vowels at the beginning of dwarf names, which is funny. It's all consonants, right? It's not A, I, U, which is a very elf thing. And a lot of elf names start with vowels. Erandil, Elrond, Arwen. It's something that you don't really have to look into as a reader, but it feels right that if I gave someone who's not a writer a name from Tolkien and they read it, they can probably successfully guess what race that person is from just based on the name. And another thing is that if you really look into it, who are the only ones in Tolkien that have last names? Only the hobbits. Brandybuck, Took, Baggins. Why? What is he doing? He's doing storytelling with the names. He's telling you that in Hobbit society, it matters who your family is. Whereas in human society, you are Theoden of Rohan. You are Boromir of Gondor. That's what matters. It doesn't matter specifically who is your clan, because they have a bigger picture.
That is some deep lore.
Yes, you can do a lot of storytelling with names. Yes. So it's almost like it doesn't specifically matter what is the name. It matters what is the system that you create and how consistent you are with it, that you can tell a story through it.
Yeah, well said.
Patty, do you have any favorite character names from fiction?
My favorite character namer in fiction is Charles Dickens. And Charles Dickens, he didn't write speculative fiction, he wrote real world fiction, but he always wrote real world fiction from kind of like a Dickensian place. The characters are larger than life characters. The places are like kind of almost exaggerations of real places. And so he'll have character names such as Ebeneezer Scrooge, right? Ebeneezer Scrooge is not going to be a good guy, right? He was this man was born bad. Polly Tootle. Polly Tootle. I don't know which character that is, but I'm inferring things based on the name. Yeah.
Have you read Hard Knocks? Have you seen the name in Hard Knocks?
No.
He called the town Coketown. That's the name of the town in Hard Knocks.
Yeah. I'm guessing Coke, like the coal product, not Coke, like any other.
But just. But you can tell Coketown is not a good place. You know that you're not going on a vacation in Coketown.
No, it's got one thing and they do a lot of it.
In Coketown. You're going to starve and wipe coal off your forehead.
You're probably going to get pneumonia. Yeah. I'd like to read just a few more. Mr. Sweetlepipe. Seth Picksniff. Oh, sorry. Pecksniff. That's even better. Betsy Trotswood. And of course, Oliver Twist. What a charming, beautiful name.
So good.
Yeah, I think he was so good for this. Like a Dickensian name is a thing. And that's one school of approaching him.
And it's very similar, but I think J.K. Rowling, I always come back to.
Yeah. I think she's kind of
very
Dickensian.
Similar thing.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I just gotta do a major correction. The name of the book is Hard Times by Charles Dickens, not Hard Knocks. That's a Netflix TV series that jumped into my head. Hard Times by
I was
Charles
going to say
Dickens.
Hard
Sorry,
Knocks.
go ahead.
Like, I wasn't going to
There's going to
I'm
be
so
some
sorry.
listeners there just like screaming into the microphone.
Too much,
but yeah,
too much
sounds good thing.
Netflix. Yeah,
Okay.
apologies. The more, yeah.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Ali. Yeah,
Thank you.
But yes, I'll get into it later because we've got a little. I'm blatantly stealing from Matan here. At the end of this episode, we are going to play a game. And so I'll be able to unpack some more J.K. Rowling names when we get to the bottom. But just her ability in the same way she uses a lot of alliteration, which makes the name stick in your head, really easy to remember. But just by saying it, they're fun to say, they're quirky to say, which just evokes that otherworldly, these are wizards with kooky names. They're not from your boring, like Susan and Paul world. Sorry to all the Susans out there listening.
They know.
Making fun of Susans instead of Karens for once. So it makes them feel a bit quirky, a bit fun. And they also kind of hint just a little bit of their personality type. As you said with Scrooge, you don't even need to know them, you don't even need to see them, but you can feel...
There's a degree of onomatopoeia there, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pivoting to you two as writers, how do you go about naming your characters?
Oh man. First of all, babynames.org is not out of the question. I'm just saying.
No. Especially
like
when you need a character of a certain ethnicity or a certain culture.
Yes.
I think very useful.
There's a thing, for Glyphlight, I used Eastern European names.
Yes,
and
which was actually really interesting. It felt very unique. I think in Glyphlight.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked having characters called Mikhail, and his nickname is Misha, and Danica. I enjoyed it. But then I have friends who happen to be Eastern European. And they read the story like, oh, why do you use names like ours? And like to us, it's really exotic and fun, but they're like genuinely baffled. Like, why do we find these names cool? Like, if I saw someone called Matan in a fantasy book, I'm like, okay, he must be thinking he's doing something cool. But to me, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I do try to use different names, different country names. Something I like to do, and I stole from George R.R. Martin, is to just maybe, I don't know if the word is to bastardize a name, but to kind of like take a name that is known, like Robert, or instead of Edward, it's Eddard. Instead of the typical John with an H, it's John Jon.
Tom is Tommen.
They still stand out to you. They feel familiar and comfortable, but they still stand out. It's like, it's not one of 100 Johns that, it's John Stark with just, So
I really
do
like
that sometimes. Yeah, I would pick a name like, instead of Thomas, I would call someone Thomas.
Yeah, familiar, but like slightly different, which I guess a lot of like European-based fantasy is familiar enough to know, but with a slight twist. Yeah. So it's like, ooh, that's different.
Just on that, Matan, I have a fun anecdote. So I'm now working on the first draft of what will be the new Mythic V2, our second anthology. So I'm working on my story. And so there's a lot of music in my world. I'm going for a magic system that uses music. So I'm using a lot of the musical terms, like on sheet music, it's either like an Italian or Latin-based descriptions. Even in an English-speaking world, that's how we will just talk about our music and write on the music sheets. So my world building started to spiral out from that decision. And I'm like, okay, maybe all their names as root words, as a root culture, needs to be in this Italian Latin. I have a mentor character. So I just started Googling, Latin for mentor. And what did I find, Matan? I found Oraculi.
Oh, how interesting.
So I'm like, I see you, Matan.
Oraculi is the surname of one of Matan's main characters in his series.
That's me in Google Translate, having fun.
And I wanted to unpack that because it's similar to what we're talking about, again, being a root word in Latin, and why we recognize, why does that feel like it means mentor to us, even though that word means nothing like mentor, but it's oracle is obviously the root word, oraculi. So it feels familiar to us without it being the actual word. It still feels a little odd. And then again, with this idea of playing with expectation, Matan does that thing where he names them oraculi, which means mentor, feels like mentor to us inherently, but he makes them a lazy drunk.
Yeah, he's a crappy mentor. He's a very bad mentor.
So you're playing with expectations, and that's very clever. But also, you stole the name
Thank
that I
you.
wanted to use.
I'm so sorry. It's not published yet, Ali. So technically, I mean, as far as legality, I can't do anything to stop you. I'll still be your friend.
I've ended up naming mine Mr. Benivo, which has a root word in benevolent. So I'm like, no, look,
nice.
that still conveys what I
Okay.
need that character to convey.
Nice.
By
By the way, the word
yes.
just the word mentor. By the way, I'm going to be a total nerd right now. The word mentor actually comes from the mentor of Odysseus' son, who stayed behind to guide the son. His name was quite literally mentor. And
Amazing.
we have turned that into a job description, even though that was just his
how
name.
interesting.
He's called mentor. Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot. I didn't know that. Oh. This is one of those very podcasts. We're learning so much.
Paddy, how do you go about naming your characters?
The new mythic, the last anthology we did, is set in sort of an ongoing, it's like a Middle Eastern, very Dune-esque kind of setting, and it's got like a Middle Eastern thing. So I was doing that thing we were talking about where like you take names that have a certain sound. I would look at actual Middle Eastern names and then try and like build words that sound like that but are different. So I guess same with like the Tommen thing, take culture, take existing names, twist them so that they're unique. I think that's pretty standard for speculative fiction. In my current, more real-world book that I'm working on, the main character is Mark. I was really agonizing over what to call this guy. He's a simple man with very, very firm convictions about defending his property against anyone that might come onto his property. This is like real-world story. It's not fantasy. And I settled on the word Mark. Mark, I think, is simple and strong, and it's got a kind of like mark, like a kind of punchiness, but also it means warlike or devotee of the god Mars in its derivation, which, I mean, very few people are going to know that. But it just, to me, it felt good and right. Even if it's just like, this is an author thing, only I will know this about my character. It felt fitting, and it kind of grounded the character in something.
And there's a connotation I bring to the word mark in wrestling and in carny speak. A mark is the target you want to make fun of, and you're doing that in a sophisticated way in your book, in that he is this very strong person, but ultimately you're kneecapping his beliefs.
He is also the mark in the book.
He is the mark of that story.
Yeah.
So there's layers.
Ali, I'm still waiting for the 25-minute long YouTube essay about wrestling from you. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know one day I'll wake up and it's uploaded.
I mean, we've got the podcast episode on wrestling. I can expand that into a thing.
Yeah, but it's a wrestling thing. You need the citations. You need to show the scenes.
I can't show my workings.
Can I got a quick question to you guys. Let's say that we're reading something that is like really serious literary fiction or drama, right? It's got no kind of like knowing winks to the reader, stuff like that.
Sure.
Let's say we're writing that. Should we even have names that sound fitting, or should we do what real life does and just like basically randomly assign names to our characters? Because like, Charles Dickens isn't naming us. There's no reason why a bad person would have a bad person sounding name and a good person would have a good person sounding name. Do you know what I mean?
My gut instinct is I wouldn't want it to be too plain. Like I would struggle to name a character, even an everyday world character, after like the people I went to primary school with, because I almost want to either jump a generation, either the younger kids, what they're being named now, or back a generation, just to create that distance a little bit, I guess. Or maybe that's in my author psychology with how I want to shape my characters. So I just need to help impose a bit of personality on them. So even though, yes, I feel like I could stumble upon this name out in the wild, I maybe need to have never come across it myself.
That's interesting.
It just needs to have that distance.
I agree with Ali, but I think it's a tool. It's a tool that we can use. It's a tool we don't have to use, but it's a shame not to, because look at even at Ali's book. The guy was really called William Swallow. That was his real name, which is mad. It is insane.
It's kind of perfect.
It makes Jack Sparrow look less original, because they're probably like, did they just copy that guy?
Oh, I never even considered that they're so similar, actually. That seems like a really obvious thing.
It's like you don't have to put something in a name, but First of all, Ali, I love the name of the podcast. What's in a name? A Shakespeare reference. Juliet asked Romeo, "What's in a name?" Because the only reason they can't be together is their names.
Mhm.
He's a Montenegro and she's a anyway.
Montenegro?
The point is that yeah, Romeo Montenegro, and she is Julia Capere.
Not Montague?
Professor
I
would
like
kill me.
Montenegro more, but I've always heard Montague.
Paddy's making fun of your
It's probably
pronunciation.
Montague.
No, I'm
It's
not. I'm
probably
not. I'm not.
Montague.
I thought maybe this was some
It's
different.
probably Montague.
I'm not. No.
Professor Colbrenner, you already gave me a grade. You can't touch me, okay? Anyway, anyway, my point is that names are strong and they're powerful, and why not take advantage?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
why
a
not
tool
use
in our
everything you can?
toolbox. Even if we can be as subtle as possible. So it still fits within the world building. It's like there's not going to be all these, there's a Gareth here, a John here, and then your Serafino walks through the room. Like you find the right tone, the right balance, but I'd still want them to have like a name that captures them. And even as you said, Paddy, even if it doesn't even make any sense to the audience, it's almost it's about me at that point as author, that the name needs to wrap around them, lock them in so I can understand them.
Yeah.
I will unpack since Matan brought it up, working with William Swallow. And I say working with because I didn't name this character. It was an inherited name, as in he was a real guy with that real name. So as an author, I get to step in and I'm like, how can I play with this? And how can I make it that character? It's already a very characterful name. So with the latest draft, something I was really doing quite intentionally was how can I weave that, every connotation of that name, into the entire book, into the book's identity, into its DNA, because not only just the vibe, but the plot, the character's personality himself. So he's a flitty little bird that he craves freedom. That's his core driver for the plot. Swallows are known for returning home, and he promises to return home. Even the idea of I'm using more images of birds flying on the wind, and then wind in itself is so important to sailing and filling the sails. So there's just so many threads to weave together. And also something I discovered only really in the latest draft. I felt like a fucking idiot because I'm like, why have I only just discovered this now? Part of my research. Sailors' tattoos, a tattoo of a swallow was actually a really important symbol for sailors. And I'm like, holy shit. The moment I realized that, I'm like, that's why he's named himself that. Like the whole reason sailors respect swallows, the idea of returning home, flying long distances, that's why he's named himself that. And I felt like I suddenly understood this person I've been trying to connect with who lived 200 years ago. And I want to do justice to this person who did live. So working that out, like obviously he's associated closely with the idea of a swallow, so I'm trying to associate the book as closely as possible with swallow.
That's really cool.
And there's also other connotations to the word swallow, the idea like the consuming, like you're literally swallowing, and William is an all-consuming person. He is a person of extremes. And there's also like the cheeky sexual connotations of
I wasn't going to say that, but I was certainly thinking it.
Yeah, because he's a man of cheeky sexual connotations.
He is.
That's also
I just think that in the future, if you have comments like that, you should make them. All right, don't keep it to yourself.
Wait for someone else to do it. It's safer.
But yeah,
I love it.
Has anyone else been in a position of having to work with inherited, as in these were names that already existed and then you just had to write to them? Because I've had to do this quite a lot.
No, never. I've never.
Can't say that I did.
I've never written based on real life like you have, so not something I've encountered.
I have a friend who writes fiction. Paddy, you know him. Definitely a friend of the pod. Noam Benelli. Let him know that we name dropped him. He actually writes dramatizations of biblical events from the Old Testament sometimes.
Does he? I would love to read his stuff, actually.
Yeah, and sometimes he uses like made up characters as like the linchpin of the story, but a lot of the other things would have been like historical settings. So you kind of married. The king is King Solomon. There's nothing you can do about it.
You can't change that.
I mean, yeah. not without a time machine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think he has to deal with that.
Incidentally,
The
Solomon
inherited
is
names.
such a good name for that
Oh,
character,
it
but I
is a
can't
good
tell. I can't tell whether I think it's a good name because of the name itself or because the character is so big they have given the name that
Yeah,
charge.
exactly.
Yeah.
Did he make the name or did the name make him?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Ooh, love that. Well, I'll speak to a little bit of a few anecdotes I have about inherited names, just and how I've struggled to work with it. So, obviously, all the names in The Swallow are inherited, and a lot of them are just the generic. These are British sailor. They're really, I would call average plain names. So it's been the fun creative task of like, well, how can I imbue these characters with enough quirk to make them stand out? Because maybe the name itself is not enough of a hook. Because I've got 19 of them on this boat, right? And I've got to make them all individualized. And again, this is what I've been trying to work on in the latest drafts. An audience being able to hook in, remember them, even if their name isn't going to do that heavy lifting. And then also the joke I leaned into with all the Williams in the world. I have not inserted a single extra William into that. It's just me. I find a new William and I'm like, there's an opportunity for a joke here.
It's like in the Wolf Hall series, like everyone's named Thomas. It's an ongoing joke.
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
another Thomas. Like, come on,
another Thomas.
But they're all called Thomas, so what can you do?
It's a reality.
I do want to go back to what Paddy said about like if you are writing a story that's like a literary story, it's not speculative fiction. Technically, you should be able to use ordinary, everyday names. But I'm gonna Stephen King time. Put another one on the counter. But a lot of the times, I remember what happened in the story. I don't remember any of the names. I don't remember any of the names of the characters for a lot of his books because they're just ordinary, American names. I can tell you. It is and it isn't, but don't you feel like a lot of his characters kind of meld in your mind into like a placeholder guy, a placeholder girl, a pretty young woman, a smart male, or like I feel like let's exclude the Dark Tower series, which kind of happens in a different situation, but a lot of his shared universe American thing, I don't remember the characters. I love the story. I love what happens in Salem's Lot. If you ask me what one of them is called, I probably can't tell you.
I wonder if that's more about like the character writing itself than the names. I don't know.
The names aren't
Know,
helping.
but
if one of them was
probably
called,
not. No.
If one of them was called Kvoth, I can tell you, I would have remembered.
You would remember that.
Yes.
It's almost like an audience aid, and you can choose to exploit it to what degree as a writer you want.
Yeah, I guess it is an audience aid. I hadn't thought about that before, but it does help. Yeah, you're right. Actually, it helps the audience pin certain traits onto a certain character. It's like
like a shorthand,
like a mimetic. A mimetic
Yeah.
like helps you remember something. I never thought about that.
Which is fine. He decided it's not something that's super important. He wants the things to feel immersive, like it can really happen, like it really happened, which is fine.
To a guy named
some of his books are terrific. It's fine. But if you call someone Atticus Finch, I promise you, some people will not know what the book is about, but they will be able to tell you.
We'll know Atticus Finch.
Who is Atticus Finch?
Yeah, you're very correct.
And that's in real life situation. It doesn't happen in Narnia, okay? But he still came up with a name that you can remember.
Yeah. No, I love that point. I'm so excited to get to our game. So another anecdote I just want to share is writing the movie on sound. So for every draft of that script, except the shooting script, the character of Finn was named Alec. So I had spent 4.5 years with Alec as character. And it was only towards the end we had a new developmental director come on. And this director insisted the name had to change because it reminded them consistently of Alec Baldwin. We can't name this character Alec because they couldn't get Alec Baldwin out of their head. And
Did you say get over it?
I really wanted to, and I think I tried, but I lost the argument.
I think Finn is actually the better name for that character. It's a gentler sounding name, and they're a gentle character.
Now that I'm finally removed from it on the other side, I'm like, they're named Finn now. Finn works.
Yeah.
But during the shooting of that film, I'm walking around like set talking about Alec, and everyone's like, who the fuck is Alec? Because they've all read the shooting script when it's Finn, but I've got Alec in my head for 4 years. So I'm the only insane person calling them Alec. Anyway, they became Finn. Finn wasn't even my first choice. It was like a late night problem me and my editor are trying to solve. I threw like 5 good enough names at my editor, and my editor picked Finn out of the 5 names.
How dare he?
threw it.
Or
Finn's
they?
good.
Yeah.
Another example, I'll do some screen sharing here, but then I'll describe it for our listeners at home. So Majesty is fantasy that I've been working on, and I have this experience where I named all these characters when I was 14 years old. Therefore, they are, fantasy capital F, fantasy TM names that I picked just because I thought they sounded cool. There was no rhyme or reason. 14-year-old Ali's just naming these characters. And they're proper fantasy. They've got apostrophes. They've got Y's and Z's all over them. I
A good
did
hyphen.
the fantasy thing.
A good hyphen.
Now, because I named them when I was 14 and then I've been working on this for so long, these names are now in my bones. I couldn't rename these characters even if I tried. They've been named for way too long. They're external to me now. I don't have power.
Ali, this feels like an apology. Stop apologizing.
Well, it's
The
about to
names
get
are
really
great.
funny, I promise. And also, just because I think the names are kind of goofy now, but also I can't change them, I guess. I don't have the power to change them. Then in my early 20s, I decided, okay, I'm stuck with all these names. I want to make the world building work. So I went and I wanted to reverse engineer the phonetics I had come up with to try and make them work within my world. So I'm about to share something very silly.
That's Tolkien-esque.
Share. Now I opened this document 2019 and then
Good
I
God.
Oh my god, the architect in me is just giddy with excitement.
Do you want to describe what this looks
is-
like for any
This
of our
is
listeners?
beautiful.
So our YouTube
Wow.
listeners will see this. What I've just put up on screen. So I have an x-axis and a y-axis where the alphabet goes from A to Z down one side, A to Z along the top. And then I've populated this grid with the most common syllables I've used in place names and character names. And so some are in bold, and that means they're used really common. So then that starts to tell me, these are, so for example, da, ka, la, ma, na, really common. I've got those in bold. I've got on, ol, n, l, really common syllables I'm obviously using in a lot of names. I've highlighted some in yellow because I'm like, all right, yellow's my problem areas because maybe I've only used them once. I've got ba, ja, eb, fe, if, ak. So I'm like, these are really rare. And I'm like, that's a problem in my world building. If I've only used these syllables once, it's not consistent. So I had used this document. Next time I need to come up with a new name, I'm like, I should use one of my yellow syllables because if I use it again, then it'll become more consistent in my world building. Anyway, this chart has pretty much mapped out the syllables I will use for character names and place names. And I just wanted to share that as a bit of hindsight of, one, my insanity and neurosis.
Yeah.
No,
It's
this is
amazing, but-
wonderful.
How were you at that time in your life? Like, was
What
everything
was I
okay?
I
It's wonderful. But
just
it's
feel like no. Listen, imagine Tolkien calling one of his mates before publishing anything and showing him like his list of names for
Yeah.
I don't know trees.
This is the kind of thing Tolkien would do, though, when he was a
Northeastern
genius, so.
Gondor.
Yeah.
Like they would tell him to go see therapy, but this is marvelous.
Well, I'm just like, no, my linguistics need to make sense. I need to
Yeah.
make 14-year-old Ali's choices make sense, said 20-year-old me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm 30 now and I can laugh at that, but I'm still like, I'm glad I did that work.
It's kind of
'cause
wonderful. It's kind of wonderful, yeah.
Now it's useful when I finally write that
Put me-
book one day.
Put me on your list of enablers, okay?
I did want to tell all our listeners though, you don't have to do that. That's an example of please don't hurt yourself. It's
You do
okay.
not do that, no.
Be gentle to yourself.
Yes.
So we're approaching that time now. Did anyone want to get in with any last minute fun insights before we started our game?
Just a really, really tiny comment I really wanted to make since it's a name podcast, and that is about Gabriel Garcia Marquez' 100 Years of Solitude, which is a really cool book to look at if you think about names, because most of the characters are either called Jose Arcadio Buendia or Aureliano Buendia. All of them have the same names.
And that's deliberate,
And
right?
it's deliberate, and he's almost writing on hard mode because a lot of the characters have the same name, and you can still keep up because of the writing.
Wow.
And I think he does it not just because he wants to write on hard mode, but because the message he delivers, the storytelling, he does storytelling with the name. And what he's telling you is that humans are humans. They're not going to change. The fate is inevitable. You know, you cannot escape your destiny. We are who we are. And like, we're just moving from disaster to disaster, basically. That's the human existence in this fictional version of Colombia. So I think names are cool. You can pick names for meaning, but don't be shy to turn it into another vector of storytelling. And be brave, really be brave, because that's a brave decision. Maybe a modern 21st century editor wouldn't have let him write that book like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have done what they've done to Ali, like, hey, no, Alec Baldwin, or no, you can't call them the same name. You got to change it a little bit.
Yeah. Or even just, I know I make choices such as I try not to use the first letter.
I was
major
about to make
characters.
this very point, but yeah.
Yeah, so that is it's a creative choice. It's a playing God choice. I don't have quite the right word for that, but in terms of it's not natural, it's not organic that, hey, my crew of 6 lead characters, all their names start with different letters, but as author, I will make that choice to make it an easier read.
I was editing a manuscript a while ago, and the author has 3 female characters in the story, all whose names start with A. And when I said, like, hey, listen, it'll be easier on the audience if they have different starting letters because it's just easier to remember the names. So yeah, I think that's a wise idea.
All right, let's get into this. It's game time. I'm going to share my screen.
You and me, Matan.
It's more of a duel, isn't it?
It is.
I feel like it's more of a 1v1.
It's a little bit, we're going to be working together.
Okay.
So it's fine.
Okay.
All right, can you guys see a pink little grid in front of you?
We can. Yeah, we can.
Okay. So
is it pink though?
Oh,
is it really pink?
Mauve?
Is it my guy vision?
I
don't know.
It's really
like a
important
lilac.
for our listeners
It's
at
a
home
pale lilac. Yeah, this is very important.
that we let
It's a
them know
very
it's a
pale
lilac
lilac.
grid.
This is great audio.
I've named them 1 to 50. Now, how the game's going to unfold one at a time. So I'll go from Matan, I'll go to Paddy, and I'll go back and forth. I'm going to throw a name up on the screen, and even if you don't know the character, that's fine because we're just judging name. I want you to almost do a quick word association. Like, what does that name make you immediately think of? Like, what are the traits? What vibe comes to mind? Just shout out a vibe. Don't overthink it. And then once you've said your word association, maybe just quickly unpack for me, why does that name work for you? Like what? So a name made me think of, that's kind of slimy. Why is it slimy? Oh, there's like a lot of S's in that name. Like then just unpack why it made you do that. And then I want you to say, I'm going to be like, where am I putting it on the grid? And
are we ranking them?
We're ranking names. So number 1 is the best name ever. You're like, that author nailed it.
Okay.
That it's such an evocative name and I'll remember it forever.
Oh wow.
Okay.
50, you're like, that's a shit name. That's the worst possible name.
There's
gonna be 50 names.
Are we allowed to move things? Like if I gave something 1 and
if
then
you
I got
argue
something
well
better?
enough, you've got to convince me. But otherwise, if it's locked on the grid,
it's dictator rules. I do that sometimes. Dictator rules. I got it. Basically, Ali's God, and we need to negotiate.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. And so 25. Think of 25 in the middle. You're like, that's a thoroughly just good name in the middle. It's neither bad nor good. It's just middle name. Okay. So it's going to be hard at first. You're going to throw them on the grid willy nilly, and then it's going to get a bit hard. All right. Here we go. Paddy, you're going to go first because you said this name earlier.
All right. Ebeneezer Scrooge. Ebeneezer Scrooge. I'm going to put it at a 5 for now. Because you don't even need to hear.
What?
You don't need to know who the character is
5?
to know that they're a villain. It's Ebeneezer. It's Ebenezer Scrooge. It's Ebenezer Scrooge, Matan. Like, this is one of the greats. Yeah.
It's one of the great names.
Or what if the next one is like Santa Claus?
Is Santa Claus? No, that's a bunch of meaningless words. We only put charge to that because we know who Santa Claus is.
All right, Matan, here's your name.
Okay.
Oh crap! Oh shit! Put it at 4.
No, it's Atticus Finch, by the way. We should probably say these out loud.
Yes, because shout the name out loud as it appears.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I will.
So why do you like Atticus Finch so much? You gotta give me the reason.
people know there's an Atticus Finch. Some of them think it's a real person. They don't even know where he's from.
Some of them think it's a Finch.
It's okay, I'll explain what I really like here. Let me go English teacher for a second. If you look at, you have basically something called consonant here. A consonance, which is a repetition of vowels. You have the vowel I twice, Atticus Finch. So it kind of feels like it continues the word. It makes sense that you have that. And there's something about it sounds good. It's catchy. I'm running out of logical reasons. I'm sticking with 4.
I accept
It's
those
a beautiful
reasons.
name.
You feel it.
All right, here we go, Paddy.
Okay, Thorin
Nice.
Oakenshield. I like it. I'm going to put it at a 16.
16.
It's good, and it's very dwarfy. I just think it's a bit obvious.
Thorin
He's got an
Oakenshield.
oak as a shield. It's
I
pretty cool.
mean, it's good. It's good. Thorin Oakenshield. It's a dwarf in The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. One of those
The
Tolkien
Hobbit.
creations.
All right,
The
Matan.
oak shield saves
What
life.
name have you been
Huckleberry Finn.
Huckleberry Finn.
Finn. Okay, let's go.
Speaking of Finns,
Huckleberry Finn. I'm gonna put it at 15. It's not personal, Patty.
You're like
I'm not trying to do a
putting it
thing
above all of Paddy's names.
here. No, I'm not
I
trying to
don't-
put it the thing.
I
But
don't. that doesn't get you any advantage in the
I
game,
like it.
Matan.
It's
That's not how
catchy.
this-
It's long and then short. You know, it's Huckleberry Finn. Let's
it's a good
go.
name.
It's
a good name.
childish. It's playful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember Huckleberry Finn.
All right,
You do.
Paddy. Here
You
you
do.
go. Is this a good name?
Ooh, oh,
Inigo Montoya. He killed
my
their
father.
father. Inigo Montoya. Nah. I mean, I think it's pretty meaningless. I'm going to put it at a 27. It's only got charged because of the film The Princess Bride. I think without it, you read it, it's like
on its
that's,
own.
And
You don't
the
think
repetition.
that's
Inigo-
just a bunch of sounds. So no,
Yeah.
27. You're just a bunch of sounds,
Nice.
Inigo.
All right, Matan. Whoop. Here we go.
Count
Oh.
Dracula. Dracula goes definitely top 10. It is an absolutely memorable name. I'm putting Dracula at number 9.
It's a.
The
I
Count
would
gives
put it
it
there too.
strength. It's a powerful character, and Dracula, I think
Dracula.
it comes from the word devil
Does it?
or something.
I don't know.
I think so. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
No, we could look up the root word for it. Absolutely. All right, here we go, Paddy.
Forrest Gump. That's a good one because it's really weird. Gump suits him because I don't know, something about Gump just doesn't sound the brightest.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's a good one.
It's good. I'm gonna say 18. Let's put it at 18. Kind
18.
of wishing I put it Thorin Oakenshield lower now, but oh well. Forrest Gump 18. It's good.
All right, let me scroll.
Forrest with 2 R's as well is such a. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
Maybe
I'm
that is
with
how the
you.
name
I
Forrest
would
is
have put
written,
it.
Yeah.
All right, Matan. Here we go.
Bilbo Baggins. Okay, we got
Yeah.
alliteration. It's memorable. It's
Yeah.
cute. Bilbo, go at number 12. You're great. You're good, buddy. You're doing great.
You're doing
Thank
good,
you.
Bilbo. That's a
Thank
good
you.
name.
Can we win this
Good
game,
job,
or is
Bilbo.
this just like an exercise?
I feel like I'm leading. I don't know how Ali's
You're
counting,
like,
but I
either
feel like
way, I'm
I'm...
winning.
I feel like I'm leading. No,
I'm going to say I'm
okay.
secretly keeping track of how good you justify your answers. That's how you're
Okay.
being measured.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
All
So
right.
I'm not leading then.
Patty, here we go.
Long John Silver. It's good. 20. 21.
Oh, no, that sounded like a 50 the way you were saying it. I'm just saying.
I suppose the Long John, I don't know, 21. 21. No
I
justification.
don't know. I have bad connotations for a Long John. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Here you go.
You
Matan.
okay?
Hannibal Lecter? Damn. The Lecter is underrated. It's really good. Hannibal, yeah. I mean, it's not super original, but it works so well for him. I mean, he's kind of stealing it from a warlord from ancient
Hannibal
times.
Cam-
Yeah.
But it's so memorable. Is it the character or is it the name? I don't know.
I think the Hannibal also
Hannibal.
implies that he has knowledge of antiquity, which suits the character so well because he's so learned. So I think there's that cool dimension to it.
Lecter.
Yeah, Patty's right. I'm going to put him between Dracula and Bilbo at number 10.
10. Hannibal Lecter's feeling
Wow, I'm
good.
wasting all these top spots. I'm wasting all
sure
these top
are.
spots, Patty.
There might be
Alright.
some real
Patty, you should
zingers.
grab them.
Here we go,
Well.
Patty. They're going
Grab
fast.
some top spots.
Willy Wonka. It's pretty good. Fuck, it's really good.
Ali-
Man, we really should have started lower. Matan.
Start fill up those 40s, man.
Is it better than Huckleberry Finn, Willy Wonka?
Alliteration.
14.
Wonka. He's wonky.
He is. Willy
Sounds
is
like
the
chocolate.
fun name. It does.
It
Chunky.
is very fun.
Chunky chocolate.
He's a
Willy
little wonky.
Wonka and the... I don't know.
I
Wonky
need
chocolate
to mix
factory.
these up a little bit.
Too many good names. Oh, Loch Lamora. Okay. Loch, he's a thief. He opens locks. Lamora, it kind of sounds like lies, the elves.
This is
Loch
from the
Lamora,
fantasy book,
guys.
The Lies of Loch Lamora. It's a...
Yeah, written by Scott Finch. I'm sorry, someone
No.
correct me.
Oh,
Scott
yes,
Lynch?
no, Lynch. Lynch.
Lynchy,
Yes.
Finchy.
Lynch. Sorry. Guys, don't hate me. Loch Lamora is going at 11. I hope I'm not ruining this.
Imagine
Ooh,
Lynch
that's
is your
a high
surname.
spot for Loch Lamora.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
pretty
he
high,
opens
dude.
Locks.
Better than Bilbo Baggins?
Wait, I'm stopping. Ali, I'm sorry. I need to get a grip. Loch Lamora goes at 20. I'm sorry.
20.
I'll be
Wow,
better.
that was a huge
Yeah,
fall.
what was I
Okay.
thinking?
Not
All right,
bad.
Paddy, here we go.
Peregrine Took. Does nothing for me.
It's not even used, Paddy. They don't even call him that. They call him Pippin. How good is a name if it's not used?
42.
What do you do?
I don't hate it, but
Yeah.
nah.
His
What?
friends call him Pippin. It's
I
not a
really
great
like
name.
Peregrine.
Yeah, they didn't even like the name. 42. Peregrine Took.
All right, Matan.
Horatio Hornblower.
Oh, I loved the series of this, the TV series. Ugh.
I got. Is this the Dr. Seuss one?
No,
Horatio,
Tales
here's
of
a-
Imperial Daring Do against the French during the
I know
some kind
nothing.
of war against
Say-
the French.
he's a-
He's a
I know
naval
nothing.
guy.
I don't know this guy. 50.
Oh no, the name does
Horatio
nothing for you
Hornblower.
even without knowing the character.
I think knowing the
I'm
character,
sorry.
Horatio Hornblower is a perfect name for him.
Hornblower is not that cool. Hornblower. Does he really blow
Oh,
a
but it
horn?
suits the character
Is
so
a horn
well.
blown?
He's a brave young.
Does he blow a...
No,
if he blows
but
a horn,
he
I'll
blows
put him
the
at
horn
40.
of
Does he
courage
blow?
for his shipmates.
No horns, 50. Yes, horns, 40. That's my
Okay.
final decision.
All right, Paddy.
Nurse Ratchet. Oh, Ratchet. I always thought it was Ratchet. I really like that actually. I'm going to put that at. I'm going to put it at 17.
17.
Something about the name, the sound of the name.
Right
She's
between
such an awful
Forrest Gump.
character.
Oh, such
Nurse
an
Ratchet. Yeah,
Our 30s are completely empty.
and
by
that's
the way.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She is a horrible, horrible nurse in a mental asylum.
Wretched.
For those
nurse,
playing at
some
home,
would
Nurse
say.
Ratchet now exists just below Thorin Oakenshield and above Forrest Gump.
Mm.
All right, Matan.
This makes Tarzan. Ooh, one name is like Madonna.
Tarzan.
Tarzan.
Mm.
Look, I like it, but at the end of the day, you just got double A's. You got a few consonants here and there. Tarzan, go at 35.
We're
It
not
could have
blown
been a
away by
different
that.
name, and the story would have worked. Like,
Mm.
could have been Barzan, and everybody would have been fine with it.
Mm.
Barzan and the apes.
True.
Tarzan and the apes. Tarzan and the apes. It just worked. Larzan and the apes.
Larzan and the
Ooh.
Jungle of Monkeys. Rumpelstiltskin. Oh, fuck, that's good. Rumpelstiltskin, character from folklore,
Such a good
evil
name.
goblin thing that tricks a... I don't remember the story. Rumpelstiltskin
Don
is so
Quixote.
good.
Is he from Don Quixote?
Well, he's literally got to guess
No.
the name of Rumpelstiltskin. If it's the
And they do,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
no explanation for how they
he's-
do. It's just
Yeah.
so good. It's such a silly story. What?
Yeah, Rumpelstiltskin's a top name.
It's really good. Rumpelstiltskin. But it's also just a nonsense bunch of words, so I'm going to put it at 22, actually, because it's good, but I mean, like, it could be anything.
All right,
It could have
for
been
those
like
playing
Slutty
at
Bard Fast.
Fair enough.
home-
He's making a good point.
I wish that name was in here.
Yeah. That was
He's
a
making a good
that
point.
is
He's
good-
making a good point.
Slutty Bard Fast is from
I
Hitchhiker's
can't
Guide
believe
to
I
the
forgot
Galaxy.
Slotty Bart.
Ah, well.
All right, here's one from Matan.
Celebrimbor. Okay, I'm watching The Rings of Power right now. I just watched the penultimate episode. Celebrimbor. Not the best Tolkien name. I mean, it does carry power, a lot of...
It just rolls off the tongue, I thought.
But he doesn't tell you much about the character. He doesn't tell you
True.
he's a legendary smith. It could have been a different elf name. And yeah, Celebrimbor, you're pretty low for a Tolkien name. You're going at 33. Better than Tarzan, but I'm judging based on Tolkien standards. Nothing
Celebrimbor, better than Tarzan. Great.
worse
Tagline.
than Rumpelstiltskin.
I should have put that higher, actually.
All right, Paddy.
Severus Snape
Ooh.
is a really good name.
is he getting the good
Obviously Harry Potter and the whatever of whatever. I'd never
All the whatevers.
all the whatevers.
All the
And the
whatevers.
chamber of something. Severus
of
Snape
everything.
is a really good name. It's a really good name. 11. I think it's better than Bilbo Baggins.
11.
Slightly.
For those playing at home,
Wow.
he is above Bilbo Baggins.
Which is 12, yeah.
I
think it's a great name.
support your decision.
Yeah.
I would have put him. Yeah.
She
it's a good
does
one.
some great names.
But
Alright.
what if we don't have any good names for our top 10, Paddy?
We're shit out of luck, I guess.
Eeyore. Okay, I got Eeyore, the depressed donkey.
Yeah. Spelled
plushie from Winnie the Pooh.
Eeyore.
Eeyore. Am I saying that name right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Eeyore.
I think so.
It sounds like Iya, which is the sound a donkey would make, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
And he sounds like sore, and he's always sore.
It does sound like
Eeyore
so.
goes to 13.
Yeah.
13 for
Okay.
Eeyore, above Willy Wonka.
Double meaning.
Eeyore.
He's sore and he's Iya. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good name.
Sherlock Holmes from Sherlock Holmes. I think it's a good name because it's associated with the character. I don't think the name in itself is special. It's not bad. I'm going to put it at 25, bang in the middle, because it's fine.
It is a middle
No.
name.
20. No, 29, actually, because, like, it's fine, but it's nothing special. It's the
Below
character
Inigo
that made it special.
Montoya for those
think so.
playing at home.
I think so.
Awesome. Matan, you have...
Victor Frankenstein. Okay, the name is so good, Frankenstein, that people literally think that the monster is called Frankenstein just because the name is so fire.
Yes. But do they think it's fire because of the connotation?
Because Frankenstein is so special. You think Frankenstein, you think about the monster, because everybody wish, it's like the Legend of Zelda. Everybody wish Link was called Zelda because Zelda is such a great name. And they're really disappointed when they find out the guy's named Link.
I
Like,
know.
oh no, I like Zelda.
Why did you name it for the nothing character?
Yeah, Legend of Link is like Legend of Zelda. So
yeah.
With that being said, Frankenstein, go up to your buddy Dracula. You're going at 8.
Okay. That's
wow,
very high.
8 for
Okay.
Dr. Victor Frankenstein.
You're wrong, but for interesting reasons.
All right, Paddy.
Tom Bombadil. It's okay. I don't know. Where are we whacking that?
It's Tom.
Let's,
It's just the Tom.
Yeah, Bombadil. I don't know. For
It's
who he
lazy.
is. 37. 39.
Paddy, that's a 40.
I can't believe you put
47.
Horatio Hornblower at 50.
It's a good
I don't
name.
know him. No horns were blown.
Bombadil is
Sorry.
it's going to 47.
Bombadil is like a human
kick it
god.
down the path. It's
Okay,
Done.
sure.
sorry,
Thrown
Tom
out.
Bombadil. Character in Lord of the Rings. Some kind
Agnes
of
Nutter.
god wizard.
Someone help me. Who's Agnes Nutter?
I don't know.
We're from Good Omens.
I started watching that, but
The nice
then,
prophecies of the nice and...
Okay, I'm gonna try to be fair here. I don't know the show, but Agnes is a cool name. Is she a witch? Does she have magical powers?
Yeah, she's a crazy witch.
Yeah. Why does
Named
Agnes
Agnes
sound like
Nutter.
that have magic powers? Why?
Nutter. Why Nutter? Is she related to nuts? Is she a squirrel? If she's a squirrel, she goes top 10.
If
Is she
she's a
squirrel?
prophetess, I'm guessing she'll be a little eccentric. So
Yes, she's eccentric. In her time, people thought she was crazy.
we've
wanted to
guessed a
burn
lot
her
about
as
this
a witch.
character by the name
I'm
alone.
going with 25. It's a good name.
I would have put it
It's
higher.
not incredible.
Nutter.
I don't know the character.
Right in the middle.
You are a benchmark, Agnes. Nutter.
Yeah.
Are you better or worse
Yeah.
than
Than
Agnes Nutter?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Oliver
Ooh.
Twist. Well, I can't put it low having like
Talked it up.
talked up Charles Dickens so much. But I do think it's a great name. We're running out of spaces. Oliver Twist, 19.
19.
It is good. I
For
would've
those
put it
playing at
higher.
home, Oliver Twist is just above Loch Lamora, but below Forrest Gump.
And the only spare spaces
Paddy, we're in
above
trouble.
19 are 7 and upward, I know. So we're running
We are
out.
really in trouble here.
Yeah, I know. We shot
All
ourselves
right.
in the foot. Feet. We've got
Scarlett O'Hara.
more than 1 foot between us.
Okay, both names are names that could be used in other situations. The combination is a bit cute. Scarlett O'Hara, go at 38.
I should
Yeah,
know this, but what's
could
she
have been
from?
anyone in anything.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah, it's like a standard name, in
Yeah.
a movie you catch on without even meaning to on
Yeah.
the cable.
Scarlett's interesting.
All right, Paddy.
Oh,
Albus Dumbledore. I don't think this is one of J.K. Rowling's better names. I think it's fine, but it could have been anything, and I think there could have been a better name than this. Maybe you guys, knowing the character better than me, think otherwise, but I'm going to whack this at 30. 30.
30.
Yeah.
For those playing at home, Albus Dumbledore is just below Sherlock.
It's better than
Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes, so 28.
Oh, we're better.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
we're right
One
between
better than
Inigo
Sherlock
Montoya
Holmes.
and above
it's-
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
I would put it higher,
works.
but okay.
I like that.
Hmm.
All right, Matan, here we go. I'm giving you another doctor.
Oh, Doolittle.
Hmm.
I mean, it is super memorable. I'm going to deduct points for the John, but the John is really there as a placeholder. Nobody even remembers he's a John.
Dr. Doolittle.
The Doolittle. It's cute. Does it have anything to do with animals or talking to them? Not
No.
really. It's
He
just
does
a
lots.
cute little name. Does it? Doolittle? How is that related to animals?
No, I
How
said
is
he
the
does
name
lots.
related
Like
to
the
animals?
character does a lot. He's not a Doolittler. He's a
Oh, yeah,
Doolittler.
okay, sure, sure.
You know what I'm
I'm just
trying
saying,
to say?
it's just a
Yeah.
marketable name to drag the little ones to the cinema. Doolittle, you could have been a Dr. Frank. Go at 46.
Harsh
Hanging
but
out
fair.
with Tom Bomb.
He could have been a Dr. whatever. He could have been a
Yeah, yeah,
Dr. Jameson, you know?
Yeah, that would have been even worse, I guess. At least Doodle's interesting.
No. Here we go, Paddy.
Zaphod
the-
Beeblebrox. Yeah,
What the
that's a
fuck?
great name. Zaphod Beeblebrox. I'm so glad we got to check us
What
out of
is
the galaxy.
that?
I was thinking about that earlier. It's got some great names. Zaphod Beeblebrox is the president of the galaxy, but he's also like kind of an alcoholic and a thief, and
Ah.
he's got two heads. He had the second one surgically installed for fun. He's a crazy guy, crazy name.
I'm so glad you got this one.
Zaphod Beeblebrox is such a good name. Look, so many of the spots are taken. It's not a 23, so it's a 7. It has to be.
Got to be a 7.
Yeah.
All right. For
I was
those
going to
playing
say,
at
like,
home,
all the top 10 so far have mostly been me. Like, you only took one spot there.
Yeah. Beeblebrox. I'm just a naturally conservative person, Matan.
Beeblebrox is above Frankenstein, but below Scrooge. All right, here we go.
Hank
Matan.
Scorpio.
Ali, his names are great.
They are good
Hank
names.
Scorpio.
This is fun because it's just making me think of all these great characters. And that's
I
fun.
mean, he's yellow.
What? What?
It's the guy from The Simpsons.
Like,
no,
No,
he's
no, but what's
yellow.
him going yellow got to do with the name?
No, I'm
Hank
just saying. I'm trying to find like things like you know.
They're all
what's
yellow.
special
He's
about
male.
the guy?
He has a
right.
beard.
Oh, I got nothing to say about the guy. He looks a bit crazy. He's got crazy eyes. Scorpio,
I think it's
30.
good.
Find Scorpio 30.
Hank Scorpio is an excellent name. For those playing at home, Hank Scorpio has been put below Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, villain from The Simpsons.
Feels right.
Really
Feels
kind of
right.
nice,
Feels-
charming villain.
All right, Paddy. Here we
Yo.
go.
Are we gonna have something worthy of one? I don't know.
Anakin Skywalker. Skywalker,
Ooh.
I was thinking about this the other day. I think it is a good name because, you know, he's in space and he's kind of like ends up being a great protagonist. So he walks across space. I don't know. But Anakin,
Yeah,
that's
it's
fun.
good.
But our
Logic.
list is completely whacked up, so we're
Yeah.
either gonna put him at 24 or top 10. So.
Yeah, 23 is the highest I can put him without being in the top 6. So I'm going to put him at 23,
All right.
which I think it's a good name,
I mean,
but it's
we're-
not top 6.
we are allowed to beg Ali though.
I don't think it needs to come to that. I don't feel that strongly about any of these names, to be honest. But we'll see.
Well, that's
Only
why.
if you like,
Yeah.
you feel it happen. You're like, no, at the
Yeah.
end. All
Well, if a
right.
slutty
I
Bartfast
hope you know
appears,
this
then
character, Matan.
Patches a who? Patches
Patches
O'Haley?
O'Houlihan
Patches
from
O'Houlihan.
Oh,
Dodgeball.
Hoolihan.
Got a
From
dive, ducked in.
which one? Which one? Is that the hero or the villain?
He's the
He's the
wheelchair.
Yeah. Played by
No,
Rip
I watched
Torn,
that
right?
movie. I watched it.
If
I
you can
love
dodge
it.
a ball, you
let
can
me-
dodge
let
a
me get
wretch.
picture. Oh yeah, that's a good name. He looks like Alistair Moody.
Not a great film.
Are you googling these characters as they come up?
I need to put a face on it. O'Houlihan. Sorry, buddy. You might have been a high 20s for me, but you're gonna have to settle for 31.
31 Patches O'Houlihan, just below.
I'm
Hank
saving.
Scorpio.
I'm
Honestly, they're
saving
kind of in
24 and
the same
26.
vibe.
Mm.
Patches
Yeah.
and Hank.
It's a
are doing
good.
the same thing.
It's a good one. It's a prison name, isn't it? a good
Patches
prison name.
O'Houlihan.
Like when you introduce yourself in prison, you should pick something. Like,
Patches O'Houlihan. Yeah, I agree.
All right, Patty.
James Bond. It's a good, strong name, but it's got nothing particularly remarkable. It's very memorable. But it's nothing special.
Nice and short.
James Bond. It is short, and it's very Anglo-Saxon, which is kind of what he's all about. Just gratuitously
All about being Anglo-Saxon.
British.
If
I mean,
Anglo-Saxonism was a person.
Yeah, but I mean, it is. Also, the author, terrible guy.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, he's a lousy person. 32.
32, just below Patches O'Houlihan, but above Celebrimbor.
Yeah, it's all right.
Salazar Slytherin. Oh God! Wow.
She loves the alliteration.
Alliteration is great. It's fantastic.
Another
Peter
Harry Potter
Parker,
character.
Otto Octavius. It works. Slytherin. It's a snake. He slithers in. It's so simple. It's so good.
Is it too
And
obvious?
Salazar,
I always wondered
it's
about
evil.
Slytherin. Like, is it?
It's not too
too on the
obvious.
nose?
If it was so obvious, why has nobody done it?
I
It
guess
can't be
so.
obvious. It's a new book. Salazar, please slither into number 6.
Number 6, Salazar Slytherin, above Zaphod Beeblebrox, but below Scrooge.
It is good. It is good.
Fantastic. I love that. All right, here we go. Paddy.
Yep. Indiana
Ooh.
Jones. Another one that's like, it's become a great name, but I don't think there's anything special to it. So it's going to be solidly somewhere in the middle. Indiana Jones. I'm actually going to whack it at 36 because there's nothing in that name that speaks to who the character is that I can tell. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
You know, the
All
ending
right.
of this game is going to be like modern politics, where everything is either perfect or horrible. Like it's either going to be in the 40s or top 3. Like that's what we're left
It's
with.
a big
Yeah.
contrast. All right, Matan, this character walked so Indiana Jones could run.
Ooh, what do we got?
What?
Duncan,
Who's
Idaho.
Duncan,
Ooh,
Idaho?
that's a good name. Oh, I wish I had something in the 10s. That's not fair. What do I have in the 20s?
Okay, let me.
Why do we
No,
like
nothing.
Duncan, Idaho so much? Who is this person?
First of all,
From,
Duncan,
Dune.
it's like it's Scottish. It's
Oh.
like it's Scottish. It's from the Highlands.
His surname
which,
is
it kinda
Idaho.
tells you.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
no, but
No,
Duncan,
the-
the Duncan, like Duncan
Okay.
MacLeod.
So
okay?
George
It's
Lucas blatantly
Idaho
ripped off
are
Duncan
the best-
Idaho to make Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
and
Oh.
Idahos are the best potatoes for mashed potatoes, which should
are you
count for
on
something.
Go on.
Matan?
go on.
No, I'm just saying it does count for something. Like Idaho potatoes. If you're making
All
good
right.
mashed potatoes, that's what you
All
want.
right.
Is it a good name or
No,
not?
with that, I'm sorry, you got to go at 37, Duncan. I can't give you 26.
Well, that is 37.
Ah!
Yeah, it's the world we have. It's
Yeah.
what
All
we
right,
have.
so
I
everyone
would have
can
put
see
you
not
higher.
perfect,
we go Scarlett O'Hara, Duncan Idaho, Indiana Jones Tarzan is what we.
We need to put a link to this chart, I think, on the pod episode notes so people can see
I
it.
don't know if we should. Yeah. I don't know if we should. To be honest.
Games
All
are
right, Paddy.
fun. Don Quixote. It is good. It is good. Is his name Don or is that a title? It's a title, right?
I think
no
it's a
idea.
title. It's like
Yeah.
Mr. Like in
Don.
Spanish, it's like
Yeah.
Don Paddy. It's like
Phoenix.
actually Don.
Don Paddy.
Don Paddy. Phoenix could tell if he was here.
Yeah.
Quixote. Again, I don't think there's anything special about it. I know it's become quixotic, which it should be chaotic.
Yeah.
But maybe it is chaotic.
We
Fuck.
say
Anyway,
Quixote, by the way.
So
in
fun to
Hebrew.
say.
Don Quixote.
it is fun to say, but I'm going to put it at 39 because I don't think there's anything remarkable about it.
Oh, below
Okay.
Scarlett O'Hara, Don.
Yeah, at least Scarlet's red, so that's interesting.
All right. You won't know this. Oh, you might know this character, Matan.
I can't believe you put Horatio
Okay.
Hornblower at 50. I'm still a little offended.
Archer Maggot. Help me
Archer
out here.
Maggot. That's a good
Who's
name.
Archer Maggot?
From
Is he a
The
maggot?
Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen. I'm looking at the picture. He's got a smile that is just hard to look away from.
It's
and
such a
not for good reason.
juxtaposition. Like Archer and Maggot are so different to each other. I really
Because
Ooh.
maggots are not big enough to hold any form of archery.
That's
utility.
true.
So,
That's true.
like, if he was Archer Fox, I'd be like, okay, you can probably get one arrow out of the way. Archer, it's a good name, but again, both words are familiar on their own. Go with 40.
40. All right. I've accidentally left a lot of Harry Potter for the end, so get ready for like a Harry Potter spin.
Yay! I was hoping for
Archer
some.
Maggot.
But we don't have spots for them.
My
Oh.
class and race.
Aw.
Luna
Alliteration.
Lovegood. Luna Lovegood's not bad. Alliteration's always fun. I'm learning a lot about names through this, actually. Like, all the high ones are really silly. All the ones we've read are really high. Luna Lovegood, what's she from?
Harry
Or he?
Potter.
Ravenclaw.
It is a very Ravenclaw
Her
name.
father is the editor of the Quibbler.
Damn, they're very good, aren't they? 24. Above Agnes Nutter.
Ooh, where Luna Lovegood is above Agnes, but below Anakin's.
Oh no,
That's a great name.
I'm anxious. Bellatrix Lestrange. Bellatrix, you deserve so much better than what I'm about to give you.
Oh yeah.
Bellatrix, the X, the Trix, has something of chaoticness in it because it's not something you're used to hearing
And
in
it's
names.
tricky.
Dominatrix. Bella is pretty. Dominatrix is forceful. So she's pretty and forceful and strange. You deserve to be in the 10s, and you're gonna be at 26.
I think Lestrange is I think it's kind of dumb. Lestrange is so obvious.
Kind of dumb. Whoa.
Lestrange, like you just saying Lestrange.
Look, it is a kid's book, so things do have to be a little bit on the nose.
Yeah, that's true.
But
all right, just so our listeners know, Bellatrix has ended up below Agnes Nutter, but above Inigo Montoya. All right, here we go. We're still on our Harry Potter speed round.
Voldemort, great villain name. Great villain name. Boy, we have totally run out of places. It's not better than Ebeneezer Scrooge, but it's also not worse than James Bond. So what am I going to do?
The Tom Riddle stuff was contrived.
You have to call on one of your, please swap this for this.
If you put you know who, it's a top 10. If you wrote you know who, that would have been top 10.
I'm not motivated enough to argue for swapping it. So look, I'm going to put it in 34 because Voldemort's good, but I think we can hold out for better in the top 3.
We're going to hold out. All right.
I think so.
Okay, so
I hope so. Otherwise,
Voldemort's
that's just lost me the game.
Below Celebrimbor and above Tarzan.
Doesn't feel right, but
sounds fitting. Right. I like it. You know, one's magical, one talks to monkeys. Yeah, it's Draco Malfoy. Malfoy, like Maleficence. Am I saying it right? Guys, correct me here.
Yeah, Maleficence.
Draco, kind of like Dracula. He's kind of not as bad as his name would imply, ultimately. But Draco, you're not top 3. You're not top 3. Oh, Malfoy is so fun to say. This is painful.
So the highest low number
he's not
we've got
41
is 41
either.
Which is
really
difficult.
Could I request to put Malfoy at 15 and Huckleberry Finn at 41? Can I say
that? First swap.
You're mad.
Huckleberry's been demoted.
Nah, Huckleberry Finn. Worse than Draco Malfoy.
Finn, it's not personal, but I can't start moving everyone. So
Huckleberry Finn is a masterpiece of whimsy. Draco Malfoy is just... What sounds
For those playing
evil?
at home, Matan has requested Draco slots in under Willy Wonka above Thorin Oakenshield. Huckleberry Finn is now below Archer Maggot.
Everybody's sense has been trying to imitate Draco Malfoy as the rival character in YA. It's just the archetype.
That's not the name, and I think that archetype has been around for a long time. Newt Scamander, I actually really like the name Newt Scamander. I've thought that for a while now, but I can't fit it anywhere. Newt Scamander, who's from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, another J.K. Rowling thing.
And then Newt is a salamander, and his name is Scamander, which sounds like salamander. So it's almost like it's called Salamander.
It's fun, and it's a cute name. I'm going to put it at 3. Why not? Why not?
What? Coming at number 3.
What? I can't fit it anywhere else.
Not just take.
But I have independently, outside of this game, many times thought, I think Newt Scamander is a really good name for this character for many reasons.
I cannot believe this.
Well,
I will write you an email about this later.
I look forward to reading it.
Donnie Darko. Okay, he's really handsome, right? He gets with a lot of.
Yeah,
there's a movie, Donnie Darko. Yeah, he
doesn't get with anyone.
Is it Johnny Depp or Gordon Levitt? Which one?
No, what's his name? Listeners,
Donnie
you know
Darko.
who Donnie Darko is from. It's the eponymous Donnie
Darko. We're at the final stretch. Go sit at 43. I'm sorry.
Go sit in the corner and think about what you've done, Donnie.
What number are they? Sorry.
43.
43. Sorry. Oh, we're taking a risk on worse names coming.
I also think Darko's
I'm putting you at the highest
surname.
Okay. I hope Ali wasn't cruel to save really crappy ones for the end.
Blandy Bland Sand. Han Solo. It is a cool name, and Solo implies a lot about his character.
Yes.
But it's not the top 2, so it's going to be 44. Sorry,
44
buddy.
for Han Solo.
There's only the very top and the very bottom left. Doesn't feel right, but that's where you're going. To the bargain bin.
Sorry, Han Solo.
This list is more about our patience than our choices.
It's a little of both.
Osgood Slugworth.
They're a hero,
Slugworth. Right? It's a good name. Go at 45. I'm sorry. You're not
For those
you're
playing
not
at
top two
home,
material.
Slugworth is the other chocolate factory owner in Willy Wonka.
Yes. Oh,
He's
that's
the
such a good,
antagonist
that's a good name
chocolatier.
for a
Why
rival
would you
chocolate.
make a chocolate business if your name is slug based?
Because you have no
it's bedlam.
ability to
Alright.
self-reflect.
Everyone,
Or
we have
self-criticize.
4 names
It
left.
says a lot about the character.
4
God.
names. Here we go.
Darth
Ooh.
Vader. So
God.
I know, at least I think I know, that when this name came to Spanish audiences with the Spanish translation, a lot of people, when they found out Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father, spoilers, were like, yeah, obviously, it means Dark Father. Like, we saw this coming. For that reason, I actually think, I mean, you can't have a Spanish name in Star Wars because where's Spain? There is no Spain. It's
Space Barcelona is a thing, okay? You can have space tapas.
Okay, well, that I didn't know that. This changes everything. No, it's going to 48. Go to the basement, Darth Vader.
Oh God.
Do not darken outdoor with your name again.
Ali, this is torture. You're just making me
Is it a terrible
reflect on
name
my
or a
decision.
No,
good
it's 48.
name?
It's 48. It
Oh,
doesn't
48.
deserve to be
48
that
is-
low, but it's not number 2.
All right. For those playing at
Ali,
home,
can we get the last names together?
Whoops, we lost Darth Vader. No,
Lost
you
names
can't.
together?
Could we get the
No,
fun?
it's not the spirit of the game. Oh,
I
Darth
tried.
Vader's giving me trouble. He doesn't want to
It sounds good, but I don't know.
get in his box. All right, here we
Get in
go.
your box.
Huh. Computer, you can do this. You don't know Godot.
I have no idea who that is. Newton Pulsifer.
Pulsifer,
Look,
yeah.
I do like 49.
I was so tempted to
Newton Pulsifer
include
from Good Omens.
thou shall not commit adultery Pulsifier, which is like his descendants.
catchphrase?
I just feel like number 2 and 1 is going to be something like John Smith, and we're all going to feel very bad about ourselves.
You gotta feel real bad.
Is Good Omens good, Ali?
I love it. I love
Okay.
it.
We're looking for something new to watch, so. Obi-Wan Kenobi, that is a nonsense name. I don't want to rate it
Beg
super
her,
high.
beg her.
It ain't number 2 and it ain't number 1. Ah, damn
Beg.
it.
Beg Ali. Please.
Ali.
Don't let our chart look like that.
Who
else is
Huckleberry Finn
worthy of 2?
Who would you swap?
Did you do Huckleberry Finn at number 1? I don't want to swap one of Matan's. That's rude.
He swapped Draco for Huckleberry was the swap.
Yeah, I put Huckleberry there. It's not personal.
But
He's
all
a
of
great
mine
guy.
are perfectly placed and there is nothing wrong with them.
How dare you?
But there's nothing.
Your agony is.
And then what, you gotta put
Dumbledore
Huckleberry
is the
Finn at
lowest
2?
one that I think could be swapped. So Dumbledore is now 2, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is now 28. Please,
switch
Ali,
one of
please,
mine.
please, please.
Switch one of mine.
No.
What would you put it to?
Dumbledore's getting promoted to 2. Did I hear that correctly?
And Dumbledore's fine. It's good. So, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, I mean,
is coming in. Below
I am Scooby Dooby Kadooby.
Montoya and above Sherlock Holmes.
This is the definition of right time, right place for Dumbledore, because he's done nothing to earn
and
this.
he's made it all the way to the top.
Dumbledore, I don't know. It's a kindly name for a kindly guy.
All right.
Okay, who's number 1?
We received the news today that Maggie Smith passed away, so I say
yeah.
Minerva McGonagall for life.
I'll take it. Yeah, let's go. Minerva McGonagall. McGonagall is a great surname. No, jokes aside, it's such a memorable professor name, and McGonagall is something you haven't heard a lot, if at all, in other forms of
And Minerva was a
fiction.
god of wisdom, I think. Is that right?
Yes.
So that's
This feels
fun.
strangely right. This makes me feel better.
Yeah, this is actually a wholesome end. Oh,
Beautiful. We have our chart.
number 1.
For those
Good
playing
job.
at home, Minerva McGonagall's number 1, and Horatio Hornblower is at 50.
Which I'm still just outraged by.
Please burn this chart and destroy any digital evidence.
Or put a link to it.
This will
in
come
the
back
show
to haunt
notes.
us.
All right. Thank you so much for playing.
Oh, thank you, Ali. That
you,
was a
Ali.
blast.
Woo. So
was really
now,
fun. Thank you.
hopefully, everyone has insight into what makes a good and bad name. We've all learned something today.
I have.
Whether or not
Alliteration in names is very effective, actually, is my takeaway. I knew it, but this has really made it stick for me because all of the good names have the same letter at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's memorable.
It seems cheap, but God, it works. Our
Yeah.
monkey brains love it.
Yep.
I think I learned something about impulsive decisions and the consequences of such decisions. But that's it,
All right. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. As usual, please rate our podcast if you enjoyed it. Only rate it if you liked it. You keep your bad. If you didn't like us, just keep that to yourself. Is what I'm trying to say.
Just keep it to yourself. Yeah, just keep it to yourself.
Sure.
Buy the new Mythic. Just do it. Rate it on Goodreads.
Yes,
I'm not
please.
even trying to be nice. Just do the thing, listeners. You've listened for this long.
Yeah.
It's a good
We'll give you another
Cool.
book soon. That's what you get out of this. Another book is coming. And more episodes coming soon. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Pros and Cons, a Precipice Fiction podcast.